Hello there. This is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So I was putting some books away that I was using for a different video on one of my other channels, and this fell out. I've got loads of road maps, and I thought, oh, I haven't done one of these videos in like maybe even up to a year, and I used to do them all the time. So let's open up this map of Europe, road map, and let's go on a little adventure and have a look around, shall we? One of the advantages of dealing with a paper map rather than Google Earth has to be the sounds, particularly for an ASMR video, right? So I tried different camera angles and it didn't work. So this map is absolutely massive. It's filling my entire desk. So you can just see this the minute. I'll have to move it around. So in short, we have Northern Europe. So we've got Denmark here. We have Northern Germany here. We've got the northern coast of Poland here. And we've actually got an exclave of Russia here. Then we got Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia. Which means we can also see the southern tip of Sweden and the very southern tip of Norway. Finland is trying its best to get into shot just here. There we are, it's the southern coast. And then you can see a little more, just getting into view is Russia. St. Petersburg is here. And what I absolutely cannot get into shot is Great Britain and Ireland, which is just over there. I think we can yeah, we can see the Netherlands and a tiny bit of Brussels, Belgium. And that means Luxembourg should be somewhere around here. And Western Germany, and a tiny, oh no, you can't see it. France is just in my view there. So let's talk about what we see then. So you have Denmark here. So the border for Denmark is there, but this is obviously Germany. Kiel is the largest German city. There are other, obviously, settlements. But we have Kiel here. And then Denmark is sort of divided into two main areas. You've got the mainland, or I think it's called Jylland. I think maybe in English we say something like Jutland, maybe. And then you've got the islands. Many of them, including Bornholm, which this little dashed lines around it and the colour signify that it's a part of the Kingdom of Denmark. It does actually say underneath Denmark as well. If I'm to understand correctly, they do speak a weird version of Danish that's sort of a meld with Swedish. if you're watching this and you know more about it, then put it in the comment section for me. I'd like to know. And the Danish capital, Copenhagen, I believe København, is here. I went there once. It was so pretty. I saw the changing of the guard in the royal palace, which you could just walk into, or you could in like 2002. And it had snowed, and it was so picturesque, very beautiful. At the time, I couldn't quite get my head around the fact that everyone spoke impeccable English. I was in the first couple of months of my degree in Spanish, and I went to Copenhagen, and everyone just spoke like literally amazing English. I was like, oh my god, if I can speak Spanish that well one day, then that would be awesome. I did say tuck a couple of times to people, but to be fair, even though my Danish is pretty shoddy. And then we've got the massive Sweden. This is just the southern tip. It stretches right the way up. Can we see the capital of Stockholm? I think we can. Just see. So that's Stockholm there. I went to Stockholm. It rained the entire time. I went in like November, I think it was. Maybe October. Yeah, it was nice. Very pretty, but unfortunately it rained the whole time. And I had a bad back. So I just kept I was in so much pain, and I was a real grump. I'd like to go back when it's nicer weather and I'm not in like horrific back pain. Back pain's the worst, isn't it? It's just, you can't function as a human being with back pain. I just remember going back to the hotel and just getting in the bath, and just sitting in the bath for an hour because it was the most comfortable place. But we got to see Gamla stan. Gamla stan, if you don't know, is like a shortening of the word for old town in Swedish, and it's where the royal palace is in Stockholm as well, and a lot of this is the very cool district. I was chatting to someone actually, because these countries are very expensive. We can see Oslo is here. That's the capital of Norway. Something that might shock people from the States. I always mention this because you maybe don't realize this if you're watching this from wherever you're watching, but I can see how many subscribers I have from different parts of the world, and over half my subscribers are American. So, hello. And they'll probably, if they ever visited these places, they'd have a heart attack at the price of a pint of beer. I think, if I'm not mistaken, fact check me. Always fact check, but fact check me because I talk some nonsense sometimes. I think like a pint of beer in Oslo is something like £10, which would be, I'm trying to think of the conversion rate at the minute, it's about 77 pence to the, oh no, is it 77 cents to the pound? Or is it the other way around? I can't remember. I think it would therefore be more in dollars, so it would be like $12 for 1 pint of beer, something like that. Again, fact check the heck out of me. And Stockholm is not much cheaper. A friend recently went to Copenhagen. I was asking about it because I think it's maybe the cheaper of the three, but they said that they just like ate sandwiches and stuff and had like maybe 2 days where they went for an evening meal, because that was my mistake in Stockholm. I went out for breakfast, lunch and dinner 3 days consecutively, and it like broke me. We had lunch and it cost about like £40, like I'm not even kidding, just a normal lunch, which would be about like maybe $50 something for lunch. So yeah, it's quite expensive if you are eating out, for example, and drinking. I heard a story that in Finland it's kind of, I don't think it's quite as bad. I've been to the capital, Helsinki, but I've been twice, but I've only been to the airport, because I make you change if you go to Asia, make you change in Helsinki. And I loved the airport there. It had like a Moomin's shop, and I'm obsessed with the Moomins. So I bought loads of fridge magnets, and so I didn't actually get to go to Helsinki, but technically I've stood on the earth. So it doesn't really count, but I have been to Helsinki twice, stuck in the airport. But the airport is very nice and clean. And I heard a rumour that people from Helsinki take the boat over to Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, and for alcohol and for like a cheap night out. So Tallinn is sort of like filled with loads of drunk Finnish people, and quite often they don't even get off the boat, they just go back because the boat itself is quite cheap. I don't know how much this is true, it's just hearsay. Blame Reddit. So that is Estonia. We just snuck into view the second largest city, former capital of Russia, which is St. Petersburg here. At its, I'm going to say, longitude? No, the other one. It's the most populated city this north on the entire planet, is the fact about that I know about St. Petersburg. And I'd really love to go, because it's similar to Stockholm, it's an archipelago, so there's lots of waterways and islands and bridges. And the Hermitage Museum is there, which is stunning. And I'm a bit of a James Bond fan. And the first James Bond film with Pierce Brosnan was set, I think it was in St. Petersburg. And I just love those scenes with the tank, you know, the one I'm talking about. And I just fell in love with the city in that movie. And then we've got Latvia. Don't really know much about Latvia. Riga is the capital, and that's here. Estonia has a couple of islands incorporated into its territory, but I don't think Latvia does. So Latvia's there. Latvian and Lithuanian, I believe, are related languages. The Vilnius is the capital, it's there. Although I think Kaunas is also a very highly populated city. Lithuania used to be absolutely enormous. It was the kingdom of, I want to say the kingdom of Lithuania and Poland, or something like that. And yeah, so Lithuanian and Latvian are similar languages. Estonian is actually far, far closer to Finnish. In fact, I think Finnish people can kind of understand Estonians when they speak, but some of the things that they say sound quite like as if someone's speaking Old English to someone in the United States. So some of the words have a completely different meaning, even though they're the same word. They've sort of changed meaning in Finland. And both of these languages are not considered to be European languages. Finnish and Estonian, along with their distant cousin, is not mutually intelligible. Hungarian. So Finnish, Estonian and Hungarian are like not European languages, and these two are they even look the same, but like I say, there are lots of differences. Hungarian doesn't look anything like them. And Lithuania and Latvia, these two languages are two of the oldest languages still spoken in Europe. I think the general consensus is that Basque in the Basque country, northern Spain, is so old. People don't know how it got there, or how long it's been there, what language it might be related to. Some scholars, linguists, say that grammatically it's closer to Japanese than it is to anything in Europe. It is a real mystery, so kaixo, if you're from the Basque country. That's hello in Basque, kaixo. When I was learning Spanish, my teacher was Basque and she taught me how to say kaixo. And then I tried to learn it, and oh my god, it is so difficult. It's also worth pointing out, as it's in shot, this is Åland. I've spoken about this before. These are a set of islands where, of Finland, but they have some degree of autonomy. They've got their own flag, for example. And I've seen them take part in like the island games, which is like, I think it's like a football tournament for islands that have sort of semi-autonomy around the world. So it's like an unofficial football tournament, not sanctioned by FIFA. And Åland is primarily Swedish speaking. There are quite a few places on the coast here because Sweden in the past had some degree of control over Finland. And actually that's an interesting thing when you fly with Finnair. Remember I said that I went to China and Korea. All the announcements take ages because they do them in 4 languages. They do it in English, the language of the place you're visiting, so Korean or Chinese, Mandarin. Then they do it in English, Finnish, the language where you're going, and then Swedish at the end. So you get everything 4 times. So even just saying, put up your tray tables, straighten your seat, takes like forever. And I think that's because Swedish is an official language within Sweden, even though it's a minority language spoken by people on the coast and in the Åland Islands. Because Sweden fought Finland for the Åland Islands, which they saw as being part of Swedish sort of heritage and history, and it was granted. I think they went to the European courts, and it was granted that they should belong to Finland. But if at any point they feel that they're not allowed to live their daily lives through the medium of Swedish, then it'll go back to the court and it may be gifted to Sweden. And I think part of making Swedish an official language of the entire country has sort of cancelled that out. If I'm getting any of this wrong, if I've misunderstood, then do correct me in the comments. And then it's worth mentioning this here, which is actually Russia. So if you ever get a quiz question saying, does Poland have a border with Russia, the answer is yes. Even though Russia is technically over there, is that no, it's in shot, where usually you've got 2 countries between the main part of Russia. This is Belarus, capital Minsk. And so Poland, Belarus, Russia, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Russia, or Poland, Ukraine, Russia. You know, there's usually a country in between, except for this, which is on the coast here. And this is Kaliningrad, the city. Yes, and this is an enclave, because I believe this part used to be Prussia, with a P, Prussia. And yeah, after World War II, the land was divided up, and I think the reason that they wanted this space is because they needed a port that was free of ice, because St. Petersburg is a port, but this here, the Gulf of Finland, does get lots of ice and freeze up over winter, so they can't get their ships out, so they needed a port. So they've got this one, which is, I believe, the Baltic Sea doesn't really freeze around here, so they could get out to the North Sea from this area. And then we've got Poland, the northern part. Can we see? Yeah, we can. So Warsaw, in Polish, Warszawa, is here. And then we've got on the coast Gdansk, which I hear is lovely, Gdynia, Poznań, Szczecin, Wrocław is just there, and Kielce. So Białystok. I was trying to find Łódź. Lubin. Łódź. So this is the most incorrectly pronounced because people say Lodz because they think it's an L-O-D-Z, but actually this L with a little line through it is pronounced like a W, because in Polish a W is pronounced like a V, and the letter V doesn't exist in the Polish alphabet. So this is Warszawa, and this with an L is Łódź. And the O has a little mark over the top, which means it's not an O but an U. And then the Z has got a little dot on top, which means it's a Ż, so Łódź. Yes, so that's Poland. Poland's borders have changed massively. They used to be like, the entire country was like over here before World War II, and a different shape. And they didn't really have much coast. I think maybe they had like this much coast or something. And then after World War II the boundaries changed dramatically. And we can see Germany's capital here, Berlin. I've been to Berlin a couple of times. I was a bit freaked out the first time. I liked it the second time. I went, the first time we sort of were travelling through, we were doing this backpacking trip, and we came from Rome to Berlin overnight. And then we didn't really have much time, so we sort of spent the night there and we carried on, and I didn't get much of a chance to see it. And we went on the train up to Copenhagen, and I remember the train went on a boat. I've mentioned this before on this channel. But yeah, we only spent the night, and so it was kind of traumatic. It stuck with me. We went to see Checkpoint Charlie, which, if you don't know, is like where the border control was between East and West Berlin and East and West Germany, because this used to be East Berlin, and then obviously East Germany, and that used to be West Germany, and Berlin was the capital sort of both. I think Bonn, I believe it was Bonn, was the sort of unofficial capital of West Germany, because it was weird having the capital in a section where you couldn't really get to. My in-laws went there on a trip once, and did their car break down or something happened, and they had to stop, and there was like a corridor, so you get into East Germany, and if you wanted to carry on to Berlin, you had like a timing. It was like you had a road to go down to get into Berlin, and you only had, an hour to get there. And so they stopped for some reason, and the police came and were like, "Why have you stopped? You need to keep moving." So yeah, we went to Checkpoint Charlie, which used to be like the part where the wall was, I believe, between East and West Berlin. And someone followed us into the underground. They like properly stalked us for about 15 minutes. It was quite scary. So yeah, that's what I remember about Berlin the first time. And then I went back there the second time, and I had the most lovely holiday. It was amazing. I ate some delicious food, Vietnamese food, and lots of Asian food. And we went on a river cruise, and we got to see the Parliament building and all of the nice things on the river. Yeah, it's really beautiful. So yeah, it's funny how if you go somewhere once, you sometimes don't have the greatest impression of it. So give everything a second chance. And then the Netherlands, which I think is generally understood that I absolutely love. We've got the islands up here, and we've got Amsterdam there, Rotterdam, The Hague, and then we've got northern Belgium here. I can see Antwerp, just in camera shot, Brussels, Ghent. Yeah. Okay, let's turn this baby over. Actually, let's do the UK briefly. The UK and Ireland. So here we got the islands of Great Britain and Ireland. And then we got Scotland up north. This does actually have, for a change, the Faroe Islands visible. So the Faroe Islands says in brackets Denmark. So just like Greenland, the Faroe Islands are part of the Kingdom of Denmark. And then we've got here Shetland Islands, UK, and the Orkney Islands. These are Scottish territory. So the Shetland Islands, I said this in a video, I think on my Patreon channel recently. The Shetlands did used to belong to Norway at one point, the Kingdom of Norway. And there was like a genuine conversation happening, last I heard, about them having a referendum to rejoin Norway. I can't see it ever happening. But I was reading the article and I was like, oh really? Because I think the article tried to suggest that since... well, that actually doesn't make any sense. I was going to say since Brexit, but then Norway isn't in the EU either, so that doesn't make any sense. Maybe I misread it. I'm just trying to see, the names look a little bit Scandinavian. Fetlar, Umst, Jell, Lerik, but not massively so. I used to work with someone who used to go there on a caravan holiday, like drive all the way up Scotland and get the ferry to the Auckland Islands and then get the ferry over to Shetland. It's quite a long way. I know it doesn't look so on a map, but it is a long way. And then I mentioned the Faroe Islands actually have this genius system of like underground tunnels to link the islands. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me in the comments, but it seemed to me that maybe to like, because the population is so small, and I suppose travel between the islands isn't that popular, the underground roads only seem to have like one lane. Was that to like save money and space or something? Like how would you just have to like pull over if another car came the opposite way? Maybe I misunderstood, but it didn't look particularly wide. So I was wondering about that. But they are state-of-the-art and they're brilliant, and it really connects the islands because the weather can be quite bad there, lots of rain and storms and whatnot. And I don't think we'll get it in shot, but Iceland is... oh no, it's just out of shot, I'm not going to get it. Okay, back to the UK and Ireland. So this is Ireland. Green and wet and lovely. And I read something random the other day, so like the vast majority, like something obscene, like 70%, 60% of the population of Ireland lives in Dublin or around Dublin. It's like everyone lives here, like no one lives there. But Galway is worth a visit. The thing, that little fact about the island of Ireland I want to bring up is the west. So this is, I believe it's called Gaeltacht. This is where, like, particularly down here with Galway and down here, where they have large areas of people speaking Irish, and particularly Aran Islands. I think all the islands are very much traditionally Irish speaking. In Scotland, I think this area here is where the last remaining Scottish Gaelic speakers are on, maybe. I can't read it from here. Yeah, the Isle of Islay, that sort of area there. That's but I think there's only about 40,000 Scottish speakers left. In Ireland, though, the official language of Ireland is Irish as well as English. So everyone learns Irish in school, but I'm talking about places where they like literally live their lives through the medium of Irish. I used to watch, because I started learning Irish, I used to watch the soap opera that's on telly, on DJ Car. Oh god, Rosnaroon, that's the name of it. And then you have England, capital of which is London, and Wales, my little country. Now the situation in Wales in terms of its language is very different to Scotland and substantially different to Ireland, in the fact that in Wales we have a really healthy sizable number of people that speak Welsh daily. We don't have this concept of Gaeltacht as such, although in saying that North Wales, particularly from here, and West Wales, particularly like Carmarthenshire, and up here, Ceredigion, they are very heavily Welsh-speaking areas, but you could technically, in my city of Swansea or in Cardiff, you could technically use Welsh. I used to have a job teaching, and I used to speak Welsh like literally every day with the teachers in my school. They all spoke Welsh. I did teach in a Welsh school for a while, so we have schools where you can choose, do you want your education through the medium of English, or do you want it through the medium of Welsh? And some of my best friends, well, all of my best friends actually, are all Welsh speakers, and they all went to Welsh medium schools. So they'd learn like maths through Welsh, not English. So there's a misconception in England that like, oh, everyone in Wales speaks English, but yeah, that's factually correct. In the place, there's a town here, an industrial town called Llanelli. I think it was nicknamed Tinopolis. You know the opolis from like Greek city of, and tin, so Tinopolis, because it was a massive tin manufacturing and cultivating and whatever area. And they're very much Welsh speaking there, and Polish. Actually, I think Polish is there are a massive number of Polish. I think in the UK, maybe probably outside of London. I know I'm making this fact up, but there is some weird stat that like there are more Polish speakers in Carmarthenshire than there are in like whatever. It's an incredibly high number. I think Polish is the third most spoken language in Wales, after English and Welsh, and they're highly concentrated in Llanelli for some reason. But yeah, when I was a kid, so post 1982, was probably between 1980 and 1990. The last person alive in Wales that didn't speak any English passed away, and they were from Llanelli. So yeah, there were instances of people not speaking English in Wales. That's not the case now, but some people, particularly in this area, speak English like a foreign language, and so yeah, there's a misconception sometimes from people in the rest of the UK just assuming that, you know, like them, everyone in Wales speaks English like perfectly as their mother tongue, their first language, and Welsh, but that's not always the case. Some people like literally speak Welsh, did all their GCSEs, their exams in school in Welsh, and can also speak English, but like similar to like how someone in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Netherlands speaks English, you know. It's not their first language at all. Right. Oh, shout out to the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man is there. There was another language spoken there that was related to Irish and Scottish, because the Irish took Gaelic across the sea to Scotland via Isle of Man, so there was Manx, which they're trying to revive. And then there was another, well, there's two more actually, so those three are together, Scots Gaelic, Irish Gaelic and Manx, and then Wales has got Welsh, and Cornwall has Cynewig, I think, which also died out but is being revived. I saw a video of someone speaking Cornish on YouTube, and I could understand like 60-70% of what they were saying as a Welsh speaker. And then in Breton, which is Brittany just down there, Breton is spoken, but that's really difficult for me to understand. It is technically related, so it's like Welsh, Cornish and Breton in their little language family, but it's spoken with a very heavy French accent. So I don't really, it's like someone speaking Welsh, an old version of Welsh, with a very heavy French accent, including the sort of trilled R sound and all of the nasal sounds. It sounds, I can understand more written, but spoken I don't understand like anything practically. video is long enough at the moment. We're going to turn over the map next time, and we'll do another video, and I'll talk about Southern Europe a little bit more then. How's that sound? Cool. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the videos. Don't forget to like the video, comment, particularly fact check me and the nonsense that I talk about. And if you love what I do, do what loads of other people are doing, and join me on Patreon, because you get early access to all the videos, like up to a week in advance. I'm being very good at the moment. I'm doing them all a week in advance. Plus you get 2 extra videos a month that I never release on this channel. 1 map video and 1 ramble of me chatting to camera about how my month has gone and what I've been up to. So yeah, check that out as well, Patreon. And all the tiers get the same stuff, so just choose the cheapest one. Okay, thanks so much everyone, take care, sleep well, and see you again soon.